Pay close attention. What you're about to see is Bible prophecy being fulfilled.
Welcome to another edition of YPN News, bringing you news as it relates to Bible prophecy and foretold by Yisrael Hawkins. Well, we're going to talk about the increases that we're seeing here in the United States in childhood illnesses. We're going to talk about some of the causes of that. Widespread flooding has been in the news. The horrible torrential rains affecting certain parts of the United States. There's been a summit recently in Brazil. Nations there are part of BRICS. They're actually calling for a new world order, while some of the other nations throughout the world are actually increasing in fighting and wars. Well, those are just a few of the things we're going to talk about in this broadcast. But first, a new study in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, has found that the health of the nation's, the United States, children has deteriorated significantly over the last 18 years. A CBS News medical contributor, Dr. Celine Gounder, in an interview, gave details about the findings and said that in a study from 2007 to 2023, infants born in the United States are nearly twice as likely to die as those in other high-income countries from complications like prematurity or sudden infant death syndrome, also known as SIDS.
Well, risk factors for younger children include diabetes, high blood pressure, and other chronic medical conditions in the mother, as well as socioeconomical disparities. Now, for older children and teens, risk factors include firearm injuries and motor vehicle crashes as the top causes of death. Now, the study found that American youth are 15 times more likely to die from gun violence than children their own age abroad.
Wow. Well, the author of the study said that we, referring to society, are failing our children. Well, this problem appears to be unique to the United States, as we are seeing much higher rates of infant death, obesity, which about 1 in 5 children in this country suffers from obesity, also anxiety, depression, and even early puberty are plaguing children in the United States compared to other similarly high-income countries.
Well, measles, a disease that we thought we had eradicated, but not quite so. The age-old disease is making a comeback, and 2025 is the worst year for the disease in 30 years, and we're only halfway, a little over halfway through the year. Right. Now take a look at this next video for more on its growth in comparison to 30 years ago. Take a look.
2025 is now the worst year for measles cases in this country in more than 3 decades. That's according to new data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. More than 150 people have been hospitalized due to the growing outbreak, and 3 have died, including 2 unvaccinated children in Texas. Yeah, so when we say it's the worst year in all those years, here's just a quick look at the numbers. The national case count reached 1,288 on Wednesday. That is across 38 states. There have been 162 hospitalizations. About half of those are children under the age of 5. Doctor, put that into context for us. How do these numbers compare to years past?
Right. So this is the largest number of cases in more than 30 years. It goes back to before we had eliminated measles from the United States, which happened in the year 2000. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, we had large outbreaks in a number of cities, and that's when we had these really high case counts, and we're rivaling those numbers now. So this is a really disappointing milestone we've hit.
And the year is only half over at this point. Do you expect this trend to continue?
I mean, I think that the case numbers this year have really been driven by the outbreak in West Texas and New Mexico. That appears to be slowing down, but I think it's alarming that we have measles in many states now, and I'm concerned that there will be other unvaccinated communities where measles gets in and starts to spread.
Wow, so, actually seeing a lot more cases now than what we were seeing in the 90s,
Right.
And they were nearing that ending phase of the measles, well, here's the surge now, even people who are unvaccinated and some who are.
Right, and New Mexico and West Texas really driving those numbers high.
That's right. Well, the next series of videos gives you a pretty sad picture of the devastating effects of recent flash floods as they've swept through parts of Texas, New Mexico, and North Carolina. Now, many lives lost and, of course, many people taken completely by surprise at the sudden rise of floodwaters as a result of heavy rains. Let's take a look.
Tonight, the desperate search and recovery for survivors in Central Texas. By air, foot, and water going through the mangled wreckage left in the wake of that fatal flash flood.
We remain hopeful every foot, every mile, every bend of the river.
Oh my God!
But the clock is ticking. Search efforts entering their fourth day after torrential rain sent the Guadalupe River surging, turning the holiday weekend into a trail of horror.
Water rose so quick, you couldn't do anything about it.
You know what I see? I see a graveyard. This is sacred ground. It's real hard not to feel bad because I know some of these people.
Dozens of people still missing, at least 105 people dead, more than 1,000 people have been rescued.
In debris fields like this, there are dozens of workers. You can see them scattered. There are debris piles like this extending for dozens of miles down the Guadalupe River.
And among the dead, at least 27 children from one summer camp, the beloved Camp Mystic.
These are babies that were lost.
It is the safest place on earth. That night on July 4th, it quickly became the most unsafe place on earth, but not just Mystic, the whole hill country.
Now the stories of their heroism.
There was, 200 kids looking to someone for some sort of comfort and safety.
And survival.
We saw all of the other camps destroyed, obliterated.
Plus, questions being raised about emergency warnings. Could more lives have been saved in the second deadliest flood in Texas history?
We know we get rains, we know the river rises, but nobody saw this coming. But nobody saw this coming. But nobody saw this coming.
Several campers and a counselor are still missing.
It was just a normal day. The day before, nobody had any idea what was going to happen.
It was sometime between 4 and 6 a.m. when the nearby Guadalupe River surged, rising 26 feet in less than an hour.
In the atmosphere, you had this really slow-moving system that's just circulating and barely moving. On top of that, you added moisture from 3 distinct places. So that's like turning on 3 faucets into a kiddie pool and just letting them pour and pour and pour.
This time-lapse video showing just how fast another nearby river rose hours later. Houses washed away, bridges severely damaged, trees snapped in half, many toppled, and homes left in the middle of the road. And when the sun rose, an apocalyptic scene, muddy mattresses, those bent bunk beds, and sodden pink comforters.
We had no idea people were missing. We had no idea that they had to wade through water, barely able to stand to get to the pavilion.
Devin and the surviving campers bust to safety.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Those surviving girls singing as they passed through miles of shredded countryside, past the trees that were smashed and the SUVs piled up like toys.
We begin with breaking news. Yet another deadly flash flood emergency unfolding right now, this time in New Mexico.
A river in the south central part of the state, the Rio Ruidoso, rose to a record-breaking level of 20 feet, washing away homes. Emergency crews conducting dozens of swift water rescues, but they could not save everyone.
This morning, gut-wrenching video of a home swept away in Ruidoso, New Mexico.
Oh my God.
The area prone to flash floods and mudslides after a wildfire last year. At least 3 people confirmed dead overnight, including 2 children, multiple homes destroyed. The mayor speaking with the National Weather Service.
And they were updating us constantly, which they've been doing every day since monsoon started. So that's why we were really caught off guard, because we knew it was coming in, but it just intensified so quickly.
In neighboring Texas, a massive increase in the number of people missing in the Hill Country flood disaster. At least 173 people now unaccounted for.
We will not stop until every missing person is accounted for. Know this also. There very likely could be more added to that list.
At least 110 deaths are confirmed, many of them children. Records obtained by ABC News show just 2 days before the flood, state officials signed off on Camp Mystic's emergency plans. Satellite images show the area before and after the devastation. The water rising 26 feet in just 45 minutes, bulldozing a path of total destruction.
Let's get to some other headlines, too, including over on the East Coast, where you've got this tropical depression, Chantal, that brought a lot of rain, bringing flooding to North Carolina. We've seen rescues there, too. Look at this. That's a house. I mean, that's water up to, like, the window of that house there. The Durham Fire Department, and you can see some of these cars here, too. The Durham Fire Department says they rescued something like 80 people through boats. A lot of other people had to, self-evacuate, walk out under their own power here because of relentless rain, triggering record high flood levels nearby. North Carolina's governor says about 120 roads in the state are shut down because of the flooding.
Wow. Really a sad situation there, Katan. Texas, the second worst flood that they've ever experienced. Now 283 people either dead or missing, and that number could go even higher, as we heard the governor of Texas mention. Now, the flood waters coming up some places 30 feet, rising 30 feet in less than an hour. And at the early morning of 4 to 6 a.m., who's going to know to do anything? I mean, as they said, who would have expected something like that to take place?
Yeah, and even the meteorologists, they gave a forecast showing about 3 to 4 rains and gave hints of potential of flash flood because of the particular area that they're in. But when a storm drops 5 times that, it leaves people completely unprepared.
Yep. Nobody saw that coming. Well, at the recent BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, leaders of the countries who make up over half the world's global population and contribute to 40% of the world's GDP showed solidarity for one another, standing together to demand a, quote, new world order. Now, the Brazilian president said at the summit, quote, BRICS is convened that we don't want any more tutelage, we don't want any more Cold War, we don't want any more disrespect to sovereignty, nor any more wars. We need structural changes to live in the 21st century and not in 1945.
Well, he continued, look at what's happening in Gaza. It defies the imagination of any mortal. Well, the 2-day summit focused on several topics, including how to revive global cooperation, less shaped and controlled by Western dominance. Well, members also weighed in on global conflicts, condemning the war in Israel on Gaza and the bombing of Iran by the United States.
Well, the Iranian foreign minister was satisfied with BRICS' response to the Middle East violence, telling Al Jazeera that the level of support they received from different countries of the region was great. Now, besides demands for a new world order where multilateralism and cooperation are found, the BRICS members addressed the current global conflicts and talked about alternatives to the SWIFT banking system, which is the global electronic transferring of money.
That's right. Well, on that note, U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to put 10% tariffs on any country that would align itself with the anti-government or anti-American policies of BRICS. However, BRICS does not see itself as anti-American. Now, the president of Brazil, the host of the conference, did use some stern words towards the U.S. president, saying, quote, "I think it's irresponsible for a head of state of a country the size of the U.S. to threaten the world via the internet. It's wrong. He should know that the world has changed. We don't want an emperor." The question now is, will all BRICS members stand together or crumble under the pressure of the president of the United States, Donald Trump, and his threats?
And so far, they seem to be doing just fine, standing up to it. But, the United States could put a lot of pressure on that group of nations.
Yeah, well, they're a pretty big conglomerate of nations, more than those first 5 that they started out with.
Exactly. Well, military drills in Taiwan will be the largest ever. Now, take a look at how the Taiwanese government is ramping up for a big show of force thanks to their American allies. Take a look.
The Taiwan Strait is on edge all over again, and this time it is Taipei which is making the moves. Taiwan has launched its largest ever war drills, pulling in thousands of reservists and rolling out high-tech U.S. weapons. And they are not alone in the region. Japan is also arming up, boosting its defenses just miles from Taiwan's coast amid the escalating tensions with China. Our next report telling you more.
Taiwan kicked off its largest military drills aimed at defending against a possible Chinese invasion. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory and has threatened to use force to seize it. Taiwan's annual Hankuang exercises will run from July 9 to 18. These 10 days, round-the-clock drills include over 22,000 reservists, the largest mobilization Taiwan has ever seen.
Well, we're definitely seeing more tensions in the region there because as Taiwan starts to flex its muscle, I would suspect that there would be some counter-response by China wanting to flex its muscle because they still express dominance over Taiwan in that area. Well, President Donald Trump has also announced the U.S. will be sending more help to Ukraine in the form of U.S. weapons. The U.S. president told the Prime Minister of Israel, quote, "We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now, and we're going to have to send defensive weapons primarily, but they're getting hit," he said, "very, very hard," referring to Ukraine.
Now, this comes after only a week ago, the United States had paused aid shipments to the country of Ukraine as they were examining the aid the U.S. has been sending on a global scale. Now, there have been a growing number of Russian missiles and drone attacks on Ukrainian targets, which have caused a lot of casualties. The Pentagon made an announcement about an hour later saying that they would resume sending weapons to Ukraine based on the president's directive.
Well, will Prime Minister Netanyahu actually follow through with a ceasefire? While the talks are going on, Israel is still authorizing airstrikes on Hamas in Gaza. For more details, please take a look at this video.
Israeli Air Force fighters launching strikes on targets across Gaza as troops keep up the battle against Hamas on the ground. While in Washington, high-level talks still underway to reach a ceasefire. All of that coming as it appears Israel may once again have to deal with Iran's nuclear program. We begin with Israel's war against Hamas and the efforts for a temporary ceasefire. Israeli warplanes are still launching devastating attacks in Gaza, striking 180 targets in just a day. Meanwhile, in Washington, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is involved in ceasefire talks and meeting with top U.S. officials, including the Secretary of Defense. And there are new signs Israel's confrontation with Iran may not be over. Chuck Holton brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Huge smoke plumes rose over Gaza City overnight after intense Israeli airstrikes, even as a sixth round of ceasefire talks played out in Qatar. The IDF says it's targeting Hamas positions and tunnel infrastructure, while negotiators attempt to broker a deal for hostages and a possible end to the war. Regional outlets report that Israel may be weighing a partial withdrawal from certain areas in Gaza, but Hamas remains firm. No deal without a full Israeli pullout and a permanent halt to hostilities.
We have still to finish the job in Gaza, release all our hostages, eliminate and destroy Hamas's military and governance capabilities, because Gaza must have a different future for our sake, for everyone's sake.
Well, we're talking about Gaza for the most part. I think we have a chance this week or next week. Not definitely. There's nothing definite about war and Gaza and all of the other places that we all deal with so much. But there's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement, an agreement of some kind this week, and maybe next week if not.
Katan, you could see that, of course, President Donald Trump being pretty confident that we're going to reach a settlement or some type of agreement within a week or two. But you see Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu strongly saying, look, we're going to finish the job. All the hostages need to be released. We need to stop the Hamas government and military and get a control on Gaza. So, you know, it's hard to think that they're actually going to get any type of agreement in that short a time, especially when the Prime Minister is so determined to finish what he started.
Yeah, and he seems like he has kind of a, an axe to grind, a point to prove. Israel seems to have a history through their military policy of strike first, ask questions later. And so I think that's got a lot of people kind of up in arms, wondering if this ceasefire is going to hold, because Israel has always been the one to preemptively strike against what they call their enemies.
Right, and as you mentioned, a point to prove, that seems exactly what he's trying to do. Prove the point, you don't mess with Israel.
That's right.
Well, if you'd like to find out more about these stories, contact the House of Yahweh. And when you do, don't forget to request your free copy of the monthly newsletter and the Prophetic Word magazine. Here's how.
To contact the House of Yahweh, you can write them at the House of Yahweh, P.O. Box 2498, Abilene, Texas 79604. You can call them at 1-800-613-9494. Visit them on any of their websites by going to Yahweh.com, YisraelHawkins.com, or Yahweh'sBranch.com. You can visit our website by going to YPN News.com. You can email the House of Yahweh at info@yahweh.com. And for all calls outside the United States, please dial the number on your screen. You can also go to and visit the websites, the Israel Says and Ask Israel website, to aid you in the study and understanding of prophecy and the scriptures. You can find those websites online by going to YisraelSays.com and AskYisrael.com.
Well, don't go anywhere. Up next is another incredible message from Yisrael Hawkins. From all of us here at YPN News, I'm Jeffrey Heimerman.
And I'm Katan Alexander.
Thanks for watching.